That was the alien baby saying hello.
Well, I think he's fine.
Yeah. I think he's fine. I just swabbed his gums with this whiskey. He doesn't seem to be complaining any longer.
Hold on. Let me drop
him on his head. That'll help.
Well, I don't want to drop my baby hot.
Hot baby. Hot baby.
So I know it, hot baby coming through.
Got a real hot baby here.
Hot baby.
Hot baby. Catch the baby. Catch the baby.
It's a real
alien baby. Secret alien baby. Welcome into the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 11, where we are crawling our way through book 2 of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time saga. For this conversation of chapters 7 through 12 of The Great Hunt, I am Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my traveling minstrels, the VC boys. On the fiddle is Dave. Say hello, Dave.
hello.
And playing the squeeze box is Adam.
Oh, good day. The squeeze box is squeezy as ever.
In this week's episode, we'll start off, as you know, with a view from Dragon Mount, slalom down the mountainside to see what shook your willow. Then we'll quiz our panel with a little Who Am I before we dust off some old tomes to learn about our origin stories.
24601.
Next, we will head to the cliff's edge to look at Dara's fall, check out the stars for As the World Turns, and lastly, we will smoke some Two Rivers tobacco before discussing our Coplin of the week and wrap things up with who leveled up. So let's scale the Dragon Mountain and see what we can see. Ahoy!
Dave.
We see Dave.
We need to put
That's
on.
it.
Yeah.
We need to put on our white gloves.
It's a giant head floating above Dragon Mountain, obscuring the view of everything else that is there.
Just me.
Giant heads from Rick and Morty. This week in the view from Dragon Mount, we see that last week we covered our company in Dara after the events of the conclusion of the first book. They were being visited by the Amerlin Seed, and Rand was trying to hide from her while doing his best to upset his friends enough to lead them away from him so that he could head off to his dying ground and explode by himself.
Which didn't really work too well.
The Amerlin's arrival was spoiled, however, by an invasion of Trollocs, who freed Pod and Fane, and then fled with the dagger and the Horn of Valir. So This week, we witnessed the cleanup of the Dark Friend raid and the disbursement of our protagonists. Matt is healed by a secret meeting of Aes Sedai, and Rand is then brought to the Amerlin seat, where he is declared the Dragon Reborn, again, despite his remonstrances.
Yeah.
Rand and his boys head out with Ingtar to rescue the horn and the dagger, but not before someone shoots an arrow that barely misses Rand and grazes the Amerlin seat.
Zing.
While it looks like an assassination pro tempore on the Amerlin, Rand wonders if it was not aimed at him.
And we are fairly certain that yes, indeed it was.
Yes, it was. Egwene,
Either way, this is a bad marksman or woman.
Who knows?
Tavir nature, Adam. Tavir nature.
Egwene and Nynaeve also depart with the Amerlin toward Tar Valon, and in the 3 days or so, both companies are on the road. Rand and the boys see some abandoned towns, some flayed Faldarans. Rand is given Lews Theron's banner, and he discovers he is the second in charge of this company. Egwene and Nynaeve are introduced to Varen and take lessons from several Aes Sedai. While all this is going on, we are introduced to Bail Doman in a strange episode that has him heading up the West Coast. So with a view of where we came from and where we are, let's stick our fingers into the breeze and see what shook your willow these last 6 chapters.
Whoa, our fingers straight up into that breeze.
I don't know how I felt about that segue.
I do. I liked it.
I feel like I need to take a bath now.
I feel like I don't need a proctological examination for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable.
With that, Adam, what shook your willow this week?
Well, mostly Egwene just keeps leveling up in some way. I'm not saying that she leveled up this week, but it turns out that she might be a dreamer, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
It means whenever she wants you, all she needs to do is dream.
It apparently means something significant because that Aes Sedai is like, we haven't seen one of those in a fortnight.
Yeah, it's something we haven't thought about yet. She says very specifically.
It's so memorable, you can't recall.
It's so memorable, it took the memory right out of your mind.
It stood out in my mind so extremely that I don't remember a darn thing about it.
Here it is. I found it. You want to ask that again, Eric?
You mean, do I want to start the segment all over again?
Anaya just says that would be a finger in the red's eye, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. We all like sticking fingers in the red's eyes.
Yeah, none of us like those reds.
Yeah,
they haven't been set up very well.
None of the Aes Sedai do. Yeah, no, they're not they're not well favored among the Ajahs.
Yeah, but anyhow, so this is something that hasn't happened for 400 or 500 years.
Yeah,
so
big deal.
Big deal. Well, and this stuff just keeps happening.
And what is?
It's those Emin Fielders, you know.
What is she seeing? Like what was that dream that led her to run to Anaya? Well, I mean, originally she was looking for Moiraine.
Yeah, she had. So it was a dream of a man with a mask on his face and fire in place of his eyes.
We know that guy.
That guy is. Yeah.
It's our good old friend Balsamon.
Yeah, this guy. But he was surprised to see her. He was like, "What?"
Right.
And then he's like, "What?" And then vanishes.
So he's obviously caught by surprise because she's not supposed to be there.
I know, but I just imagine it's really funny to see some guy that looks so horrifying being surprised and like freaking out a little bit. I need to leave. Then anyhow, so he sees also a woman had been standing over Rand with his little cloak on, looking down.
Yep.
Her face was in shadow, but her eyes shined like the moon.
Like the moon.
Anyhow, Egwene knew that she was evil, and then flash, she's gone.
Right.
Boom, bam.
Egwene was left with the sense that she was evil, which is what she recalls to Anaya.
Yeah, and then behind it all was just this feel of danger.
Yeah.
As if a trap was just beginning to shut. So
warning, Will Robinson.
And Anaya
doesn't sound good.
Anaya's reaction is, you could have an ability we haven't seen in 400 years, or you could just be full of crap.
Yeah.
No big deal.
One or the other.
And the way this book
So who knows what happens with this?
Well, right, but the way this book goes, I mean, it's pretty clear that she's got some kind of ability. Yeah, right. I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
She's not the only one. Maybe she is the only one.
She's the only one so far. I mean, we know the three boys have some sort of dream as well. So this is an interesting area. Is she in the same dream that they are? Or is she in a different dreaming area? Like, is there like one area where all these dreams occur? Is there some sort of unified dream? Or, does each individual like have their own separate dream world?
Well, none of them have encountered each other yet that we know of in the said dream world. The only consistency across all of them, I think, is Balsamon.
Right. Balsamon. But what we do know is that when the three boys were dreaming, they were dreaming that they were in the same area, and yet they didn't see each other.
Right.
So that's interesting. Yeah. But there is that dream that Rand had where rather than being in the room with Balsamon, he was in the castle with all of the bridges, and he felt like the other boys could have been in there, even though he couldn't find them. So we're getting some contradictory information when it comes to...
We don't know if they're all dreaming
at the same
time either.
Strange land indeed.
We don't know if they're dreaming, but I mean, we can gather a pretty good sense that the boys are probably dreaming simultaneously. Because,
they're asleep at the same time.
Right, because they're asleep at the same time. I think that's safe to say. But we still have a lot to learn about this. But yeah, so Egwene was going looking for Moiraine and is told, "Oh, I'm sorry. The person who has been driving your entire life up to this point isn't here."
Yeah.
In fact, we don't know where she is.
She's gone.
Not only is she gone, but Varen is gone. And Liandrin is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the head of the Aes Sedai, the Amyrlin seat, doesn't know where.
It seems to be a theme with Moiraine, anyhow.
It seems to be a sticking point between Moiraine and Swan, yeah.
But yet, Swan's never upset when the results come in, so,
Yeah, but she did make a point the last time that they talked to say, hey, I need you around because there are some fragmentations that are going on between the different Ajahs now that never existed before. Old alliances are falling apart, and part of it is because of the problems that you're causing. And it sure seems
I don't remember her saying it's because of the problems she was causing.
Well, she feels like Moiraine being gone for an extended period of time is leading to some people not necessarily looking at the blues in the most positive of lights. And man, Moiraine just keeps her own counsel. She reveals a little bit to Swan, but she holds back, right?
Yep.
Moraine has never believed in telling a person what they do not need to know. That sums her up.
She does not.
Ah, and who tells us that? Varen.
Varen.
Yeah, good call. Absolutely. That is the Wind Beneath Your Willow for this week. For mine, it was that freaking weird episode that Rand has in that building that he walks into in the village that's been abandoned and they can't quite figure out
when he's
why.
Lord of the Flies.
What episode is this you're speaking of?
So this occurs in, I want to say,
That
chapter 9. They've crossed
the
river.
river and have not yet gone into the woods.
And no, they have.
No.
They've gone into the woods.
They're very far away from grandmother's house.
That was my joke. You passed up
Oh,
there.
yes. So they've gone over the river, and they have gone through the woods, and they've arrived on the other side, and they're in this another village that's been abandoned. Everybody's looking around, and is it Hurin or who is it that's seeing white women in
that's,
white-robed
Ingtar.
women? And Ingtar is seeing white-robed women.
No, it's Uno. It's Uno.
It's Uno. I knew it had a U in it. He's seeing
Not the lady in red, but
white-robed
the lady in white.
women in windows, and nobody believes him.
Matt,
and-
of course, is referring to them being drapes.
Right, which there were in that window. And then
And meanwhile,
Rand approaches
is
a building
smelling
that he
something really
gets
bad.
that he gets a really evil feeling from.
Heron was just smelling something really bad in
Yeah.
that village.
We'll get
Hurin.
to that. Yeah.
He's not a water
I'm just
bird.
sticking with birds.
You are. So Rand approaches the building. He is not digging the vibe on the outside, but he's a good soldier. So he goes
Yeah, he
in.
felt like something was waiting.
Yeah, and it was.
Weird.
And he has some sort of weird. This whole experience in this building is incredibly cinematic. I feel like prior to the '80s, we don't have a lot of cinema, sort of bleeding over into literature from a storytelling standpoint. But he walks into the room, and it's obvious that he is experiencing some sort of repeated slice of time.
He's like on a loop.
Right.
Yeah.
So he sees
Not a fun one.
He sees a family at dinner, and something bursts through the door. And then he sees flies consuming the dinner table. And then slowly, as the scene repeats, he experienced the flies continue to grow and swarm over the room, and then eventually him.
Yeah.
Right?
What's interesting though is it's six children and then 6 flies on the table at the end there.
Yeah, it's like the loop. The loop. It's not a true loop because, like you said, the flies are increasing. So there's like a time distortion within the loop, within the same scene playing itself out, which is even more weird.
Yeah.
So the whole thing
I don't
stands
get
out
this.
like a sore thumb because we don't have any narrative experience like this before. We don't have any character experience like this before.
The closest unexplicable thing that we have to it was that wind.
Well, it's hard to say whether it's. I mean, it has yet to be explained. It certainly doesn't get explained within these couple of chapters here. Machinson. Yeah, there's no explanation. The only thing that I can gather is that what he's witnessing is the family that lived in that house right before the Trollocs arrive and take over.
Yeah.
And he's seeing that repeatedly, but what that doesn't explain is the
why.
flies.
Yeah.
Is
Or
the growth
why,
of the flies.
Why is he wandering into a loop in time? What's causing that to happen?
What's going on in that room?
Well, it's
why
funny,
is
'cause
there
it
some
seems
sort of
like- it
magical
seems
power?
like it-
I'm thinking it's the effect of the Dark One on the world.
I don't know. I don't know what it is because we haven't. The only thing I can do is sit and wait and hope that we have other moments like this.
I don't want to
sort of
hope that we have
explain
more
this.
moments
Yeah,
like
right,
that.
Yeah, no, it's
For our
terrible.
characters, certainly not.
But the other interesting thing that happens
no.
is he is how he gets out of it. So
yeah.
he has another episode with the one power.
It seems like he's pulling on the power. Yeah.
And that's the way that he gets out of it. During these 6 chapters and during the previous 6, he's fighting the one power, and yet he's been having more and more positive experiences with the flame and the void.
Now
They're prolonging. His ability to sustain that flame and void is prolonging.
until we get to the later chapter.
Yeah, it seems like it.
The later parts in this chapter when he's not able to do it.
Well, it flutters for him, but he's still able to, when it goes away, he's still able to regain control of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is lashed by these tendrils that he fights through to get out of this moment. I mean, he clearly draws on the one power here to do this, though he is also obviously unaware that that's what he's done.
Right.
But this is another
He would have a much more
major
violent
moment of
reaction
this.
afterwards had he known that's what he was doing.
Right, yeah.
What I also think is interesting is Matt into a house as well.
And nothing happens, Matt. Or I wondered about
We
that.
don't know. Did
Right.
anything
Nothing
happen to
happens,
him?
Matt, or he doesn't say anything, but he doesn't come out of that house looking visibly shaken, which I imagine he would.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt is not
Yeah,
known
so
for
that-
his subtlety.
Matt's also not known for his forthrightness, though. He's not going to be
He's
like,
not, but that's-
oh, man, that
But
was
that's
totally
my point.
screwed up.
That's exactly my
Yeah,
point.
none
Is
of
he
them
wouldn't
talk
be
to
able
each
to
other.
fake his visual appearance because Matt, of the many things that Matt is,
He wears his heart close to it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he-
his
You
emotions
think
are
so?
pretty
It's out
prevalent.
there.
To
You
this
can
point,
see it.
yes.
I think so.
I think Perrin and Rand are far more transparent than Matt is. I feel like Matt's a lot more
disagree with
bluff
that.
Yeah, I agree.
and will deliberately say exactly the opposite of what he means. He's ironic in that way.
Yeah, but it's pretty apparent what's happening.
to
Yeah.
Rand.
He's definitely a complainer. No, he definitely loves complaining about things.
Yes.
Not only that, he likes it,
Absolutely.
he likes to have a
He
story
would
to
complain
tell.
about that. He'd be like, "What's up with this house, man?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I mean, he
could
didn't
see-
want to talk about the dreams, but I think we've gotten past that with him.
Yeah, but he doesn't really like to talk about anything
Yeah, but
supernatural.
even if he didn't
Like,
want to
likes
talk about the dreams, he was still. It was still apparent that there was something going on with Matt.
Right.
So
It's
that
always
was
like, "Oh, something's going on." Parents like, "Matt doesn't smell right."
Yeah, exactly.
so that's something to keep our eyes
He
out
smells
for.
funny.
Moving
Yeah.
forward is more instances of these sorts of episodes because it completely flummoxed me, and I just wanted to say
Yeah,
flummoxed.
me too.
All right, so Dave.
So mine is Pot and Fane in general, and there's a couple things connected to this. First of all, I love the ridiculousness of the something evil, the some greater evil that Huron keeps smelling, and they're tracing it. How do these people not know what?
Yeah.
I mean, with everything that Moiraine has said about Pot and Fane, with everything they've learned, with every experience they've had with this guy, he is like the worst thing. He is like you open up your lunch meat and there's maggots crawling around inside of it. It's like he is that gross, disgusting
yeah.
thing that you don't expect to find, and there it is. So how do they not know what that is? Like, well, how can anything with this guy catch anyone by surprise?
Because they dumb.
Yeah.
So that being said,
Also, they were wondering. They're like, yeah, because they brought that up when he escaped. The guy said, "I was like, what? Why is he so important that someone came here and
right,
took him out?"
because he's the greatest evil known to mankind outside of the Dark One, or maybe the Forsaken, or
and
maybe
that's
he's
described
worse.
because
We
it's
don't know.
described it's described in the fact that the dagger, Varen is like, "Oh, that's in the world. Interesting. I wonder how many people it could have infect if we don't get it back."
Yeah.
Oh, the entire world.
Right.
And that's the effect of him.
Right. We get introduced to the idea that this is a parallel evil to the major plot of this book this is an outbreak that is just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
It's a virus that is just waiting to take over the world while we're all sort of focused on this battle of good and evil. This is a whole other thing.
Led by a true madman. Like, he is off his rockers crazy.
Well, and he in his inner monologue that we get through the narration, he admits that
he knows he's
slightly
crazy,
insane.
and he's perfectly fine with it, which is even more frightening is the
Right.
fact that he recognizes that and he can still function. And to that point, I mean, that narrative just okay. How on earth does he nail a murderer to the wall? How does he?
Oh, we're getting there.
Does he physically overpower the thing? Does he terrify it so much that it's just going to stand by and let him do
I think
this?
he just over evils it.
Right. I mean, how frightening is that? Let alone the
So
whole,
scary.
the whole entire massacre he orders of all those people just so they don't slow them down. I mean, he's just, wow.
Yeah, he's
Again,
like, "Oh, you might as well eat him."
He's vile.
yeah, I mean, he is, and everyone, literally, I can see why everyone's terrified of him, but the dumb people don't know the great evil they're chasing. They keep finding dead,
And then
flayed
he also
bodies,
feels whole, like
remains
he feels whole now because
Right, 'cause he's got the
I guess
dagger.
he has the dagger, yeah. So
Well, we
it's
know
just
so.
like
Yeah.
now he has this other little helper for himself.
So yeah,
The dagger.
Wow, he's not good.
I know, and I think that's really fascinating that we have this overarching, everybody talks about the fact that we should be terrified of Balsamon and don't name the Dark One and blah, blah, blah. This final battle is going to take place with that. But the scariest guy so far is this guy.
And he's right in their midst.
He's the one that has the most power.
And they're chasing him.
And that's the reason why he's the scariest is because what we do know...
He's real.
Is that right? Because we know that despite what's going on, and despite the fact that these Forsaken are popping up, we know Balsamon is somehow still imprisoned, even though he's in people's dreams and physically manifested enough to get killed by Rand at the end of the first book. He's still imprisoned. Whereas Podden Fane is not.
But he has been, and he's out.
Right.
Yeah. He was in prison, but he was also wooing maidens whilst in prison.
Yeah, I mean, he is like the super virus. He's like a plague.
Yes, he is a
the
super
virus. The viral. You know, it's like in Resident Evil where they break that virus and it strain just goes and spreads out. That's him.
Yeah, that's what
like
he is.
Out in the world.
He's an outbreak. And he has broken free, and he is out there.
So that was my It's just the guy's so
He's a bad
creepy,
one.
and the more we find out about him, the worse it gets.
He's a mean one.
I mean, every time you think you know
Fane.
like the most evil thing about him, he like one ups it the next time.
And he's still in development.
Seriously happy about it. Too.
Yeah, because he's still like becoming whatever it is he is ultimately going to be.
Yeah.
Because he's bad now, but you get the sense that he's going to be worse somehow.
Yeah.
I imagine he's just wringing his hands about it all the time. He's so happy.
Yeah, he's so eager to be even more.
Although, I
filthy.
mean, he does.
But thank goodness he does not know how to open that chest.
Right, he doesn't. Despite his evilness,
I know he has some wherewithal not to. I guess
he doesn't know how to.
You don't want that guy with the horn of Valyr.
Well,
What's in the box?
Yeah.
I guess that is the interesting thing is that he is that evil, but Balsamon still is the one that is controlling him. So
no, I don't think so.
Kind of.
I don't think
it seems like it.
No.
I think on
he's
his own,
responding
he
to
would
the
be opening that.
He's responding to what was innately put in him, I think.
He is,
but I don't know that he's answering to Balsamon anymore.
No, I mean he's reveling.
Okay.
He's reveling in some instances in his own agency. I mean, in the fact that he is
Then
no
why isn't he
longer the
cracking
hound
open
on the
that
leash.
box?
He wants to. He
Why
doesn't
isn't
know
he cracking
how.
open that box.
He
He doesn't know how.
Yeah, he doesn't
He
have
legitimately
the
does not know the secret buttons to push to open it.
Probably opened with laughter.
We're going to close
pure
the
laughter.
cover on Podden Fane now, and it is time for a revisitation of Who Am I? This is where This is where you don't talk over me, and I give you a clever limerick, and you try to guess who this character is.
Ooh, okay. I'm excited.
Ooh, yes, yeah. We haven't done this in a while. All right, so here is the limerick. I boarded the three upon their flight and gave them advice throughout the night of travels and things of exotic delight to land them safely near the Bridge of White. Who am I? Baal Domon. I do be Baal Domon.
I Domon.
I demand.
I love my ship.
I am Domon.
I don't care that much about the people working on my ship. I let them die.
No, he does. He just doesn't care about the guy that is watching
Two
and
is
not
fine.
actually
3 be too many.
not actually standing guard at night when
He just wants to be out of there.
when people are supposed to be keeping their eye on the shore, and then
What's going on with
four
this guy? I
guys
think it's
suddenly
so funny
jump
that he
onto
just
the
pops
ship.
back up.
Yeah, he doesn't even get his own
Here we
chapter.
go.
He just gets a segment at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, well, the interesting thing is he's now 200 crowns richer. I mean, he got a sack of gold. He kept that, took off. So he's got some
plied
coin
with gold before,
right?
For this,
well, I don't know if they actually
sort of,
if he ever actually accepted it before.
No. He hasn't accepted it before, but he's clearly been offered copious amounts of gold in order.
This time it was enough to take.
Yeah, in order to. Well, I think there's a combination.
This time he was just like, I've lost 2 men already.
Yes, exactly.
And maybe I can escape across the Aerith Ocean to the mysterious lands that no one goes to.
He's reached a point of critical mass with whoever and whatever it is that's trying to get him to head toward the east.
Man, no one likes people from Tar Valon.
No, I don't understand the currency.
It's like the
you
whole
can't-
world
he
tolerates them,
gets
but
paid in
no
this
one likes
currency.
them.
You mean just with regard to the coin that he's given?
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that
he's
I
like-
think that's
he's like,
more
"This
with
won't be
the
accepted that
city
many
that
places."
he's in, though, and the nation that he's in.
Yes and no. I mean, he doesn't want anything to do with the White Tower. He doesn't want anything to do with the Tarvalin witches.
Well,
They
I
be
mean,
witches.
but
do be
he goes
witches.
he goes through the thought process of knowing that that all of the money that he's been given is in Tarvalin marks, which he can't spend in that area because
Which is
if he
so
were to
weird.
spend it in that
I
area,
mean, it makes
those
sense, I suppose.
those people in the country that he's in don't respect it.
Well, even more interesting is it's
No.
Tarvalin marks given to him from a lord from Carrion,
Right.
Kyrian.
which plots within plots
Yeah.
that we have
there
no
are a
idea
lot of
about.
plots within plots that are brought up here.
Right. But what we do
Oh my
know
God.
is the king of Kyrian means no good to anyone. Well, at least Baal Domon.
To Baal Doman, yeah.
Right, because he has written a note
A missive,
for,
if you will.
for Baal Domon to be
Killed.
slaughtered once he arrives. Where? Where is he going?
Hmm?
It's west. They want him to, or it's east. They want him to go east.
That's what my
Yeah, they
is,
want him
but-
to go. They want him to go to the
Arad Doman. They want him to go east, and he instead heads west.
across the Aerith Ocean.
I like the fact that he's back. I like him as a character. He's interesting.
Me too.
He's a tasty morsel. He's
He's a self-interested man, right? I mean, his primary driver is profit. He's a capitalist.
and he makes no bones about
I
it.
think and he loves collecting things. Apparently,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important to bring up because what do we know he is in possession of?
Another
one
seal.
Of the seals.
Of all the people in the world to have one, Baal
heck?
Doman's got one.
Right. And this is what he suspects they're after, right? Because he goes through sort of a catalog in his mind of what he's possessed and what he bought most recently that led to this onslaught of people trying to encourage him to head east.
But how do they know he has it?
Well, this
See,
is my
I don't know.
question.
Dark friends, they be everywhere.
But I don't. Yeah, it's so weird. How do they know he has that?
I mean,
so
I
strange.
would imagine Baalzamon
Maybe
knows
agents
where
of
his
evil can
seals are.
sense
True,
them. I
true.
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, he probably doesn't because otherwise he could have been pointing out where they were forever. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like his network of spies is getting more effective, more pervasive. You know, there are probably more of them. So Baal Domon, in addition to having a light stick and several other relics of the
And
past,
some figurine with a sword.
yeah,
Some little fat figurine with a sword,
right.
whatever that is.
Which, well, it sounds
Bet you
very
Moraine would like to know
right.
about that.
It sounds very
sure
similar
seems
to
like
what.
something that-
Right. It sounds very similar to the relic that Moraine uses to augment her power.
No, I was more talking about. I bet you Moraine would like to know that he's got a seal.
Well, of course.
Oh yeah,
as would
grief.
any of the Aes Sedai. So Baal Domon,
any Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah.
everyone.
There you go. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're looking for.
has a
Obviously,
boat.
he's not going to get introduced here.
Smuggler he be.
If he and he also mentions like he's heading toward. It seems like he's heading toward.
You say he's going to the Arath Ocean, or
What would that mean? Is he like to own a boat at that point?
Well, he owns.
What
He
would
owns.
that mean?
What do you mean?
I think it's a pretty rare thing.
owning a boat.
No,
Yeah.
no, he's a river trader. There are
is-
plenty of them. He
Oh, okay.
seems to be incredibly successful, and his riverboat seems capable of sailing the shallow shoals of the ocean, which most riverboats wouldn't be capable of
Got
doing.
a good boat.
He does. He the Spray be a good boat that he has
Yeah.
there.
It's like
That
the
is B.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
Right. It can make the Kessel run in under.
parsecs. Some amount of parsecs that I can't exactly remember.
400 parsecs.
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah.
All right.
At least you got that.
Hey, I got that one.
So, who am I? Is Baal Domon. Let's
Who am I?
let's dig into some origins here with a little origin stories. So we get to
Backstory.
we
Oh,
get to
man.
the beginnings of several different peeps here. One being Rand during his conversation. Well, not his conversation, but the conversation about him after he leaves the room between Swan and Moiraine. Or is he in the room
also the
for
conversation with him?
No, he's in the room. You're right. He's in the room for this. Nothing like people talking about you to each other when you're in the room, but they're not talking to you. And then we learn
pretty good though.
We learn a little bit
Yeah,
about.
I love how Lan gets him prepared for that.
Me too. It's super sweet.
Great, it's a great scene. It's
I love that.
Great camaraderie. It's Lan once again, as we've seen a few examples of, going out of his way to protect and look out for these kids against the interests of what he's supposed to be aligned with.
Yeah, I think he respects his dedication, and apparently he's probably fairly good with the sword.
I think that's it. I mean, I think that the one other time that we've seen Lan go against the desires of Moiraine up to this point, it's been dealing with Rand, right? He hasn't done it with Matt or Perrin. It's all been Rand.
No,
and
he's never been really one-on-one with those guys.
And it all seems to have to do with the Heron Mark blade.
Yeah.
So
it's something he knows.
Yeah, right. It's something that he right.
I think
it's
he
a
just
touchstone
recognizes
for him.
Game.
But in this case, it's much more far-reaching than that, because he has that pin made for Rand, the Manetherin pin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
so we're talking an actual
true
bond between these two.
True blood of Manetherin.
I think that he has identified Rand as somebody who's going to have to deal with a whole lot and have a whole lot on his shoulders, which Lan understands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's an affinity developed there, and he is looking out for him and trying to help prop him up for what is ahead.
I love it though. He's dressing him in clothes.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the good one.
Well, Moiraine is dressing him in clothes.
No, he means to go to present himself to the Amyrlin.
Yeah. Well, but what he does is he dresses him in custom.
He's also like, this is great. And then also when he gives him that pin, he's like, that'll give him something to think about.
Right.
Right, because it's the red eagle. It's the sign of Manetherin.
Yeah. And then the cat crosses the courtyard.
Right, and then he gives him a stance to walk in with, which we recognize as a stance with a certain amount of arrogance. And then he gives him a whole bunch of protocol to to behave with in the presence of the Amyrlin, which even Lan mentions will make you look like you know what you're doing,
even if you don't.
It's pretty good too. That's all set up, and then they run into Lyanna. Is that her name?
Lyanna.
The Aes Sedai?
Lyanna.
Yeah, and well, meanwhile, she's just like looking dudes up, and down. That one's just checking.
You'd think she was agreeing the way they describe it.
Also, why did she not choose the green?
Right. I don't know.
It seems like she should have been there.
Right, exactly.
Anyhow, so Rand runs into her, and then he seeks the flame in the void, and she's like, oh, that one wasn't. Who is that one taught by?
Yeah.
Is that Leanne or is that
Swan?
Okay.
Whatever, Leanne.
They can identify him using the flame in the void, which I think is interesting. So that means that is not just a mental cloak that he is wearing, but it has some sort of physical manifestation.
Just the fact that he had that confidence.
I don't think so. I think he looks like he's zoned out somehow. It is the impression that I got from that description.
Just the impression that I get.
So into the backstory.
So we learn a little bit in Chapter 8 about Rand's origins. Up to this point, the only understanding that we've had of it has been the dream that Tam had, or the
fever dream.
The fever dream, thank you, that Tam has while Rand is trying to bring him back to town during Winter's Night. So here we get a lot more development of what Tam did. So Tam was not and had a bit of wanderlust. He leaves.
Was it wanderlust, or did he feel he was called to fight the Aiel?
No, it's not that he feels like he's called to fight the Aiel, because he leaves before that. He leaves, and that's what I found really interesting, is he leaves as a boy to join the, he joins the Ilian army, but he doesn't join it for the Aiel War. He joins it to fight the White Cloaks in the White Cloak, and then the White Cloak Rebellion.
Yeah.
And then he fights
and we find out
more
how old
wars.
they are at this. They're 20.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Rand and Perrin, all of them they're 20.
So Tam goes off to fight in the White Cloak War, and then he fights two more wars between Ilian and Tyr, who are constantly battling. And he gains so much experience through that he rises to the ranks of the second captain of the Companions.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then he meets Rand's mother, who is from Camelin. So those are Rand's origins.
Well, also,
No, those aren't Rand's origins. Those are Rand's parents who aren't his parents.
On the side of the mountain where he died.
Right. Because we also learn
that's
a little
big
bit.
deal.
We also learn a little bit about.
Those are the origins of the
Moiraine.
parents that he doesn't actually have.
We learned about Moiraine and Swan. So we learn that that this whole plot that we've been trying to figure out, because obviously Moiraine has had some sort of plan that she's hinted at in a couple of different occasions up to this point. We finally figure out what it is that led her to Emond's Field.
I just want to know where else she was looking.
Sounds like all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so she happened to find herself in the Amerlin's chambers on a day when one of the Aes Sedai, who has the telling, who is the
foretelling,
So that's an interesting thing to me, because this one has a foretelling, but apparently she wasn't a dreamer. She was just someone that had
they're not necessarily
foretelling.
mutually exclusive, and you can have one and not have the other.
Well, apparently there hasn't been a dreamer for two. Well, maybe she didn't know about this one that had the foretelling. I just think it's
Probably
interesting
not.
when Egwene was told that, hey, we haven't had a dreamer for 200 or 300 to 400 years, and then there's this other girl 20 years ago, old lady.
She might have just had foretelling and not have been, because it's in one of these chapters they mentioned about Elida has
the foretelling. Yeah. It's a distinct talent.
But they don't mention that she's a dreamer.
Right.
So I think they can be two separate things.
They're distinct talents.
Yeah, seems like it.
Varen suggests that Anaya suggests that they can be linked, but they are still two distinct talents. So there they are as accepted in
the Amerlin's chambers. Apparently.
In the Amerlin's chambers, the
woman dies
holder of the
given
seals.
foretelling.
I know, it's so good.
Right.
He burns.
She speaks.
He burns.
Right. She speaks that the dragon reborn has been born in so many words, and then she dies. And
that's going out on a high note right there.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, I have this last foretelling.
Yeah. I'm going to tell the world that they're about to be bathed in blood and fire. Good night.
Yeah. And that's another interesting thing is that, like, the savior of the world is that there's a lot of irony tied up in the Dragon Reborn, is that he's also going to destroy a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. Everybody, the entire world is just...
Yeah.
And he ends the battle. That's really, really, yeah. I mean, I guess that's revelation, I suppose.
Revelation's this one.
Yeah, what's nice about it is it's a complicated story that we're involved in. It's not just simply, somebody who's going to save the world and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Obviously, along with the salvation and the continuation of existence is going to come a whole lot of destruction. And what we know from the prophecy is those two things are linked. They are linked. You cannot have one without the other, and that's the end toward which we're headed. So here are these two girls. They're like, okay, so now we know that the Dragon Reborn is out there somehow, and they take it upon themselves to go seek after it, and one of them is wandering out in the world, and the other one becomes the Amerlin seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we get why Moiraine has been allowed to do a whole lot of this stuff, but at the same time, she's causing a whole lot of problems for Swan.
Well, but it's not like she's causing a whole lot of problems, but it's not like Swan can be like, she can't really discuss why she's out and about and not coming back, because that would apparently give up the plot that no one else knows.
Right, which is why when she wants to talk to her about what's going on, she dismisses Leanne from the room and has a conversation with her, but that conversation
but not
is...
Varen.
Yeah, not Varen. Oh, yeah, indeed. That's a huge...
Because Varen's in the know.
Such a smart one.
She is an observant little sparrow.
We'll talk about that later, though. So we get a whole lot about Rand and sort of where he's coming from, and this is the last nail in the coffin of Rand's past. At this point, he can no longer deny that he is... While he can claim Tam as his father, he can't claim him as his biological father. There's obviously a lot more going on there than what he has believed up until 4 or 5
Rand
months
is going
ago.
through some stuff.
He's got a mountain of poop just dropped on him.
So
and then he has to say goodbye to Egwene.
Another heart-wrenching scene. I was going to touch on
and
that, but yeah, you
seems
got
like,
to it.
Who knows what happens, but it
Right.
seems like
It's so sad.
what?
She
That's
whispers
the
she
end of
loves
you.
him, or he says it, one of them, and
He's hugging her and he says, "I love you."
Yeah,
He mumbles
does.
it. She thinks that she hears him say it, and then
but
peace
she is
out.
not
I
meant
may
for
never
you.
see you again.
But
Not
prior
in
to
the way
that,
that you want.
there are a couple of other origins here that we learn about.
Sorry, Eric.
One of which is Lord Luke, who we've had referenced a couple of different times at this point.
Yeah.
We get the story of Tigraine and Luke, who are brother and sister.
I don't know where Lord's coming from, just Luke.
No, it actually says Lord Luke.
Luke came to the mountains of doom. Isam waited in the high passes.
No. You're reading the prophecy. I'm talking about what Varen discusses in chapter, I want to say 8, but I could be wrong. They are brother and sister who were part of the chain of the crown.
Oh, Lord Luke was brother to Tigraine.
She was the heir to the crown in Camelin, and he was the prince of the sword, and they both wandered off and disappeared, causing a whole bunch of problems in Camelin, which then eventually led to the rise of
Morgase becoming the queen.
Yes, this is what led to yes, and it caused a whole lot of problems. And he is somehow tied into this weird dark prophecy, which is scrawled on the wall. So we learned about that, and then Lan's brother also gets brought up all of this.
It's not his brother; it's his uncle. Isam was the son of Brienne, wife of Lane Mandragoran. Lane Mandragoran was the brother of the king.
Yeah, it's his nephew. Gets brought up here as well, and in some really, really twisted, obscure prophecy, which at this point there's obviously a lot of truth tied into this, but what any of it means is your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, but Varen
seems like
breaks
there's a
down
lot of
some
history
of
brought up,
who it is.
Well,
You know,
Varen can identify the name. We get identification of names
like Lanfear.
as part of the prophecy, right? But but as far as origins go, we gather that we also there is also, we're hinted at the fact that Arthur Hawkwing's descendants there are smatterings of in Tomon Head, and that it's possible they have
that they were across
that
the
they've
ocean.
returned, right? That he sent a bunch of them out somewhere across the ocean, and perhaps they're coming back, and we know that. We know that there have been rumors that there's stuff going on Tomon Head.
Is the interesting thing about that is I'll see you on Tomon Head.
Right. And that right. And then there's that rhyme that Podden Fane has recited to Rand, right?
He wrote it on the wall that Rand scrubbed off. If it was him that wrote it on the wall, we don't know necessarily who wrote it on the wall that Rand scrubbed off the door. When he was scrubbing off the door when Leandrin came in and found him.
His writing was more intricate and looked like poetry compared to the rest of it, so it was probably...
Well, no, I'm specifically talking about when Rand comes down into the room, not the dark prophecy.
No, I know that. The writing on the wall was different.
Right.
The one that he scrubbed
So
off.
I'm guessing maybe
Podden
Fane was the one that wrote it on the door, because he's also the one that's, when he's cackling in his madness later, he's babbling about meeting Althor there.
And then the last interesting thing with regard to the origins that I found is that Swan, after talking through things with Moiraine, mentions that she's not fond of what they've done to Rand.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Who's not fond of it?
Swan.
Is not fond of what?
Is not fond of what they've done to Rand.
They who?
She and Moiraine.
She's like, I don't feel good about that, basically, is what she said.
Oh, about sending him out the way they're sending him?
So this is
well, I mean,
what
Moiraine
I want to talk about
Moiraine just disappears.
They both... Moiraine is there for that moment, so her disappearance doesn't really have bearing on it, but she's talking about everything up to that point, everything that they've done up to that point, and then what they've done with him in the room. So she has some regrets with the way that
they don't like what they're doing, but they're doing what they have to do.
Right.
It's like you know the path you have to take, but you don't have to like that. You don't have to like it, but it is the path you have to take.
There's some indication that
apparently
that
it's
perhaps...
going to lead the entire world to suffering and gnashing of teeth. And then also they just mentioned, they're just like, oh yeah, when he learns to like use the light on his own, heaven help us all.
Right.
So, yeah.
And
I don't know.
They have to
They don't like what they do to Rand, or they don't like what they did because it's basically unleashed this Nova under the world.
It's like letting a lion loose, but you have to.
There's two things going on.
It's like letting
here.
a hungry lion loose.
Yeah.
First of all, they know prophecy, and we've already discussed this, that the end of the world is, or the destruction of the Dark One is not a happy ending. They have to be aware of the fact that what their goal is to keep this guy alive long enough so that he's there to defeat the big bad evil that is there at the end. They also make. But that defeat doesn't mean that the world is not whole, right? That the prophecies all indicate that along with the good, the defeat of the evil, there is the bad, and that the world sort of gets torn apart.
Yeah, the world sucks. But there was mention that she mentioned to Moraine, once the battle is done and he defeats them, we'll deal with what happens afterwards. So does that mean that they're expecting maybe they might take his powers away afterwards? They have to
gentle him at that point, or who knows?
Yeah, well, they're pragmatists. They're going to do whatever they need to do when everything is over, but there's no doubt in their minds that he needs to be alive when Baal-Zaman or Shaitan needs to be defeated.
Yeah, he's apparently an integral part to that. So,
but the other thing that's going on there is,
and they mentioned that to him.
It's one thing to talk about a prophecy; it's another thing to discuss a human being who's right in front of you, and that's where. Yeah. I think that's where Siwan's regrets come in, but I also think that she's concerned as to whether or not they're steering him in the right direction.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because
I feel like they're pretty convinced they know what they're doing.
Well, I don't know that she knows that. I don't know that she knows that she understands everything that Moiraine is doing, because even Moiraine admits
that's true, because they've only had 2 letters to each other.
Well, not only that, but what Moiraine is clearly, I mean, it discusses in the narration that she holds something back, that she's not revealing the entire truth to Swan.
Well, let me rephrase that. Moiraine, it seems, pretty convinced she knows what she's doing.
Right. This regret, though, comes from Swan.
Right.
So she, I think, is also probably pretty clearly not operating with all of the information. And
how about the fact that the 2 of them are ready to kill Varen?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, they gathered power
once again, for the sake of the world, they will sacrifice the one, even if she's part of she's a sister.
Right, and we've seen.
And then Varen was just like, "Oh, this would be very interesting to study."
Yeah,
she's like loyal.
It was, yeah.
She is.
That's like the Browns. The Browns are the studiers.
Right. That's the
of them.
That's the role that they play.
Those are the Erics.
But at the same time, we see several occasions, not several. We see a couple of hints that perhaps Varen is playing a role there. Egwene sees her eyes sharpen when she discusses Rand to her. So
she's more than meets the eye.
Yes. So Varen very well may be dissimulating.
We'll see.
And playing a role for everyone. We've already developed some of the ideas that happen in Fall Dara, but the next segment is Dara's Fall, where I kind of want to just wrap up some of the other things that happen in Fall Dara, because we learn that Changu is one of the 2 Dark Friends who's responsible for opening the Dog's Gate and letting in the Trollocs, and
didn't end too well for him,
allowing the escape of Podden Fane. And we know when Podden Fane is rescued, he's surprised by the person who comes in and frees him. So is that Changu? Is he surprised that he's being freed by the guy who's been responsible for keeping his jail all this time?
Is it Liandrin? We don't know.
Yeah, I just figured it was Liandrin. I have no idea. But could be him.
Would he even know who she is?
I don't put it past Podden Fane to know anything.
No, I feel like he knows everything.
He's omniscient. He just knows everything. Okay.
I mean, he knows a lot of dark friends. He knows a lot of high-placed dark friends.
He can sense where Rand is, and then Rand just vanishes every once in a while, and that's weird also.
I've got a
He
hypothesis.
saw Rand
I'm
a couple
guessing. I'm
times
guessing
and he
Rand's
just
disappearing when
vanished,
he's using
and
the
then
power.
he would come back. What was Rand doing when he was vanishing?
I think he's using the power.
I guess, but that's weird. Why would he disappear when he's using the? It's
Because it's
strange.
like it shields
Anyhow.
him.
Or maybe there's something that Egwene is doing, because Egwene can see him in his dreams. So maybe she's somehow, that frequency is running interference.
Egwene can. Yeah, I don't know. But this is the first time she's
Yeah,
seen him in
who
his
knows?
dreams, and he's disappeared. Fane's lost him a few times. He mentions.
Right. Or maybe it's Perrin, because
Yeah.
we know that Perrin has a familiar in his dreams that protects him in his dreams. So maybe somehow Perrin is protecting him.
Only Perrin's not seen Rand in his dreams,
No, Perrin has not seen Rand in his dreams.
so it's something.
Tasha Manetherin.
Then there is the assassination attempt, which we've discussed is most likely aimed at Rand. And Rand mentions the idea of the Watcher, who he has now sensed twice. He sensed
I
it
love
when
how the
he's trying-
Amelin just brushes it off like it's no big deal. I get shot at all the time.
Yeah.
There-
Anyone could be doing this in any city I go to.
Right, exactly.
I wonder if she also suspects that it's aimed at Rand, and she's just trying to move on so that
Quite possibly.
nobody actually looks any farther into it.
Not
Plus,
to draw attention to
she
him.
wants to leave. She's
Right.
got other stuff that she's trying
Pressing
to do.
matters. Pressing matters at hand.
We have this prophecy that is scrawled on the walls of the prison cell.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And we've already discussed that we've learned a little bit about a couple of key figures from it, but there are also a number of other elements that are raised from that whole poem of that
I
prophecy.
think though that it's presented as this is evil prophecy. This is prophecy
Right.
coming from the Trollocs. This is something that's been passed down from them. And
So it's like the evil version of the
and the Aes Sedai
Cariathan
are
cycle.
like we don't,
Right.
but we can try to pair it out.
The Aes Sedai don't have logs of dark prophecy. Their prophecy is apparently all tied to the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So some of the things that we learn through the prophecy, one of the most concerning is that apparently it says that Lanfear is on the loose.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
the
little
daughter
bit
of the
disconcerting.
night. What is her name?
The daughter of the-
daughter of the night. Yeah, the frightening aspect of that is the fact that she was in love with
Hawkwing's
Lews
girl.
Theron.
They mentioned that
Yes.
she was his lover.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Well, I mean, she was. I don't know. I mean,
Sure.
who knows what impact it'll have moving forward.
Well, it seems like she's standing over him. There's some woman standing over Rand, and we've had mention of her. It seems like it
Right.
could be her.
That could be her.
The biggest concern with regards to her is she seems to be the second most powerful
Uber
of
powerful,
all
yeah.
of the Forsaken.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So that probably puts her somewhere equal footing with I don't know, Pot and Fane.
Yeah, we have yet to get there. She's
So-
apparently a sexier version than Pot and Fan.
Yeah, that doesn't
Right.
take much.
So
It
there
doesn't. It takes like a one not crooked eye.
Right. Exactly.
So there's another Forsaken on the loose. They just seem to be popping up here. So
Which is strange to me because apparently they're closer to the wheel somehow, so someone did a bad job at burying them. Why didn't they just
they're
bury
closer
them
to
all
the surface? Yeah.
as deep as every other one?
well,
very
because
sure.
maybe they only had a certain amount of ground that they could bury them in, and they buried them in a column. Adam, that's why.
Should
I found it
bring my
hysterical when they're
shovel?
going
Nah,
through
Don't
the-
worry about it.
When they're going through the prophecy, I find it hysterical. They keep trying to get Varen to stay on task, and she just keeps talking over them. She's just kind of like, they keep trying to distract. She's like, now this thing and this thing, and they get
She's
her off, of course. And then
fascinated.
she just keeps going with this thing and this thing. It's funny to me.
Yeah, and yet somehow she's just I guess been smart enough to
popping off these
conclude
points, though.
that Rand is the Dragon Reborn.
Well, she said
or
one
that
of
he can
them.
channel. No, that he
Yeah.
can channel.
No, one of those three boys.
She's been able to conclude that, and also obviously feels comfortable enough mentioning it around Swan that she doesn't think she's going to get killed.
I don't know if she feels comfortable enough or she just talks to herself. I feel like she was talking to herself. Who
I mean,
knows?
I can.
She's smart. She's a smart cookie.
Right. I feel like she's smarter than that. So I think that this is a revelation of what she's choosing to disclose something of herself to these two here, I think. Even though she does it in a manner that, you're right, Adam, does totally seem like she's just talking out loud and says something foolishly in a moment that she probably shouldn't. She seems more calculated than that. So that's interesting. Rand redeems himself a little bit here in Fal Dara with Matt and Perrin, and is trying to tell them, hey, I was really trying to help you guys and just trying to be a jerk.
Well, he's not even in Fal Dara when he does that.
Well, no, they're off on
the woods.
They're off on their excursion to find the
things
horn.
You say.
Right, exactly.
But he does.
Matt will
listen.
He does try to get back on their good side, though they're not really having all.
He's been trying. He's been trying this whole time.
They do when they're at when they discover they have the whole banner conversation, and then Matt gets all Matt. It's the only explanation. Matt gets all Matt and leaves, leaving Perrin and Rand to have to,
Matt's talking about all the other people that have gone create the power.
Right.
and he's like, everyone, you can't tell anyone. Everyone here will kill us if they find out you can channel. Right. And if they don't find out you can channel, then you're just gonna go mad and kill us.
Right. And Perrin's like, that's not helping, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah,
shut up.
Like, finally, Perrin. Good job, Perrin. Yeah. Also, would have been a good time for Rand to talk to Perrin about what's up inside afterwards.
The wolfies? Yeah.
After they had that moment, maybe be like, oh, hey, Perrin, I know we keep talking about how I wish I only knew what you know about women, but what's going on with your eyes, buddy?
Right. I think Rand is a little caught up in the fact that his friends know that he can channel, but I don't know that his friends know that he's the Dragon Reborn.
No, they don't. They don't know he's the Dragon Reborn. He doesn't even necessarily believe that at this point. He thinks he might be manipulated. He believes he might be manipulated.
Legs and claws.
His whole that wears on me a little bit. I'm not going to be used. Where is he coming up? He's all coming up with this from one conversation with Tom Maryland. From Balsamon.
And his entire upbringing.
Well,
he's always been
Obviously,
raised.
We've learned that people from Emmons Field are prejudiced.
Yeah, but
right. He's been raised in a culture where Aes Sedai are manipulators.
Right, but it's more the fact that he's a man who can channel, and that's more what he's referring to. It's not the Aes Sedai manipulators. It's the fact that he's a man who can channel, and the men who can channel have been used by the Aes Sedai as puppets to set up false dragons. That's what.
Well, he's getting it from Dream. He got it from
the dream with Balsamon. You're dumb if you're listening to that.
Tom.
Well, and we also know that the people of Emmons Field are stubborn and willful,
and dumb,
he's exhibiting all of that stuff with regard to this specific area.
We have seen both Rand and Egwene be really, really dumb.
Well, dumb or obstinate?
Well,
no, Egwene was dumb when she went down to Pod and Fane. Rand is being dumb when he's just perpetuating his own stereotype. They're just using me. They're just using me. They're letting you go free. So yeah, okay, maybe they do have designs on you, but I loved that quote. A tool being made is no less.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic quote, and I wish I could remember it. And it's 100% correct.
She says it's like a rudder in a ship.
Yeah, it's no less useful because it's being used for what the design of what it is, and that's Rand. He can't see that.
Not the best news to hear. It's like, okay, fine, great analogy there, but you're still using me.
Well, the world is using him. He just sees it. He just sees it as them. But it's not just them. The whole world is using him for their own salvation.
Yeah,
but he can't see that.
No, he can't.
No,
because he's a person.
No, it isn't just that, Eric. He's focused on being used by the Aes Sedai. He's got these blinders about that he can't see anything else but that.
Because he's been raised to believe that they are manipulators,
and
he doesn't.
No one else in the world is manipulative.
But the Dark One being used by them. He's not wrong.
The Dark One isn't manipulative.
He's not wrong. He is being used by them, and Swan's
not in the way he's painting it.
Swan's point is,
it doesn't matter.
Either
way is bad.
We're using you to an ultimately good end. Like there's a good end here, but he can't see that.
It's a goodish end.
Speaking of Rand, there's also the interesting thing of when the Amyrlin arrives, he's trying to get out of Fal Dara, and he can't because there's been this order given that nobody can discover the source of. Who gave that order to not allow Rand to leave Fal Dara?
We're having to guess it's either
Good
Moiraine
question.
or Swan.
I have no idea. That's a really good question because they're like,
Swan has barely
that order was given
arrived.
this morning.
It's got to be Moiraine, doesn't it?
Yeah, but why would the? But that's
maybe.
the interesting thing is,
That's weird.
Okay, Moiraine would make sense, but why would everybody listen to Moiraine?
Well, all she needs to do is tell one trusting person, and that person then disseminates it. And
that person has to be.
All anybody needs to do is trust that individual.
Well, that individual would have to be someone high seating, and that's going to be Aglamar.
Yeah, sure.
I would say it's Amelisa, Lady Amelisa, who, by the way, gave Nynaeve and Egwene dresses. What's up with those dresses that she gave them? Do you think they have
she gave
magical
everybody
powers
clothing
put on them?
She gave Rand. She had the clothing made for Rand too, correct?
No, Moiraine.
Moiraine had the clothes.
Yeah,
given
no.
to Rand.
Amelisa.
No, I think they're just
given
clothes,
these,
Adam. I don't think they're like doctor.
Egwene, Nynaeve, but I think it was probably her order. Actually, no, I guess not, because
I don't know. It is a mystery.
Who has a vested interest in Rand being there?
Well, it's obviously Moiraine, except for the
would
fact that
seem
she
to be.
does
but
want him
she
to go.
specifically was talking about the fact that she was going to let Rand go free.
Right, exactly. So I don't know.
I think it was Moiraine.
Unless it was Leandrin, because she wanted him to be there to
Leandrin.
be killed.
That's the only other person who makes sense. Is that it's Leandrin?
We don't know. Yeah.
But
why would she have that much power there? Well, I guess they do respect the witches.
She would have just as much power as Moiraine would.
So
that's something we don't have an answer to.
I mean, we know Amelisa is being put to the hooks.
She's
being put up on the hook. So maybe it was her, but I don't think the timing works out for that.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think it has to be.
I think it has to be. I am assuming it's Leandrin.
So before we head into our Coplin of the week and who leveled up, the last thing to kind of discuss is our As the World Turns, which we get.
Turn the days of our lives.
We get a couple of different things here from these 6 chapters. First of all, we are introduced to Hurin, the sniffer, who's had his talent for the last 4 years.
Who's rather suspicious of Perrin.
And also, is he
what's amazing
suspicious
about
of
him,
Perrin,
though,
or
is
just
that,
finds Perrin interesting?
Well, Perrin can do exactly what he's doing, but in a different fashion, apparently. So Huron's like, what's up with you,
I don't know
dude?
if he can, because Huron says that he can smell a battle that was 10 years old.
Yeah, but Perrin knows they're coming up on something evil. He can sense it. He can smell it, or whatever he can do.
Yeah, and he can also see it across the ferry.
He can smell blood.
Right.
Perrin can just smell blood. Perrin has a wolf sense of smell.
Perrin's pissing me off at this point.
But it's
because he's just here and there, and he has this really awesome power, and he's just being a baby about it.
Huron can smell an abstract idea, murder.
Perrin can smell the actual thing.
the result of murder.
Yeah,
there's
I don't
a
think
significant
Perrin could
difference
smell
there.
a battle that
but it's like Huron's the only one that notices that Perrin's doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
He's the only one picking up on it.
Well, Perrin has only done it in one instance. He hasn't been doing it with all of. He's not the one who initially leads
but he
them
says
on the
it
hunt
out
for the
loud,
horn.
like Rand and Matt. I don't care.
He
I
says
like
it.
this Huron guy.
He mentions
I like
it.
this Huron guy though, because he talks about the fact that he started picking up this ability, and then it took him a year to realize what it was.
Right?
Can you imagine what that year was like?
That would have been a very difficult year.
Not good. Not
It
good.
doesn't seem like they
even
live in a
eat
very
food?
peaceful land.
Right. You'd just be sick all the time.
Yeah.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Which then that idea dovetails really nicely into the monologue that Ingtar has in chapter 10 about the place of men in the world and the fact that it seems to be dwindling. And that is the other side of the coin of the fact that while from his perspective, men's place, the human race's place in the world is decreasing, magic's place in the world seems to be increasing. We have all of this old magic, which is now presenting itself again. We have
Perrin.
We have what's going on with Egwene. We have what's going on with Rand. We have the emergence of Hurin and his sniffer ability, which doesn't seem to be something that they've had in the land for a lot of time.
I don't know that we.
Well, who knows? They keep it secret.
Yeah, that I don't know if that's given for Huron. It might be just something that's on the DL because they don't want people like the Aes Sedai freaking out and being. So we don't know how prevalent that is. Yeah,
we don't.
But
know.
You're right about all the rest of this stuff. You know what I find interesting about that soliloquy there?
And Egwene.
Right. Eric mentioned that. I think it reminds me of he's slightly in that morose moment. It kind of reminds me. It's my Tolkien throw of Denethor when he's like. Before he burns his son, and just like all those moments when he just talks, he's so full of despair, and he's just so, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna, and that's Huron's just kind of not Huron, but Ingtar is kind of the same mindset. It just there was like a weird parallel for me that I.
One is madness, though. And
yes, true.
This is,
but madness has to can sometimes stem from despair.
They have a reason to because the parallel between those two references is both kingdoms are on the border. So these guys are on the border.
High stress.
They're facing the darkness every day. And so the desperate elements of their current existence can be more prominent. It could very easily seem to him that the race of men is dwindling. At the same time, we do know that from the number of kingdoms that existed during the time of Arthur Hawkwing to what exists now,
those are dwindling.
He's truthful and accurate when he says like there's just giant swaths of wilderness that exist in this land now that didn't exist before, that there were kingdoms upon kingdoms back in the old days. And this sort of builds on the idea that we're heading toward the end of an age.
It's interesting the way Jordan is describing, the villages that failed and the towns, and they're passing by all these things that used to be great things. It's like when you drive through the countryside and you see like that old dilapidated farm and no one lives there and you wonder what happened.
So let's talk about our Coplin of the week. Who is the Coplin of the week for you, Adam?
For me? It was a tough one, and the funny thing is, it's between the two that I feel like it usually is. But I'm going to throw it up to Matt because Matt's just really annoying when he finds that Rand is.
Just at that moment, Matt is really annoying.
I understand that's how he grew up and everything, but at least Perrin's dealing with it better than him.
What about the fact that Matt, after he is trying to apologize to Matt keeps hanging at the back of the line. And every time Rand wanders to the back to try to talk to him,
muttering something,
he's dragging Perrin along with him.
Like he's right, and poor Perrin is caught in the middle. He's had a conversation with Rand at this point. He's trying to talk to him.
Of the week for being useless.
Well, that actually funny. You should mention that. That is my Coplin of the week. Is Perrin. Even though he is good in that last conversation with Matt, he doesn't stand up to Matt or to Rand. That conversation. He doesn't stand up to. Perrin knows the right thing to do here, and he's being led like a bull by the nose by Matt because Matt just bullies him along into it because he won't stand up for himself. He's too busy looking at the ground so no one can see his little golden eyes that he's so embarrassed about.
Perrin,
and he won't stand up, and so then finally when Matt is called out by Rand, who admits everything, and here's why I'm such a jerk because I was trying to save you too, and Matt's like, oh, I didn't know about that, and Perrin's like, yeah, and that's all. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But Matt is Matt continues to be the instigator.
He does.
Oh my god.
And then they don't talk about things.
He's completely Rand is trying, and Matt deliberately does
won't have it.
Just
no, I'm saying him and Perrin
pain in the butt
afterwards. That would be like I said before, but blah blah blah. Good moment to talk about things.
So mine
but
is
you're only 20.
Mine is Moiraine, who just disappears. Like her entire thing is Rand is going to think that I'm manipulating him, so I'm going to I'm going to allow him to be free. Go off, go away. You can be fine. And you won't realize what I really want you to do. And eventually you'll just kind of stumble into it. And then I'm also going to take these two women out of their little small town and drag them into this incredibly intrigue and politically charged
I'm going to stop you there. She did
castle.
not take the 2 women out. Egwene
One of
chose
them-
to come
right,
along.
that's
The other
true.
one followed. She had no
Well,
part
Well,
of that.
no.
Nope,
I would say also for Moraine, hats off to you, girl, because Nynaeve was kind of just teetering there for a second, and then Moraine's like, "Oh, well, you probably want to learn this power in order to, fight me."
Right.
So she starts
good.
these
She's a smart one.
these girls down
love her.
these women down
You
this
and me,
path, and then she just poof.
I'm sure she's got a reason.
So
She-
is Andrin, and so
Hey!
is Swan. So is Swan.
You just don't like
Sante
things not explained to
Warder.
you.
I'm looking for my mentor. Anybody know where she is? No? Anyone? No?
I
picked
personally
the
want a
earliest
Moraine
part.
in my life all the time.
She just
I don't care if she's
disappeared.
using me. If she gets me towards the greater good, I'm good with it.
She didn't tell you where she went? I mean, she's only the most important person in my life right now. You don't know where she is? Okay.
Yeah,
Once
and
again,
then
this
it's
goes
like,
to
yeah,
Eric's
I'm going.
needs
But it's
to
like
know.
Gandalf. It's Gandalf.
It's Gandalfian, and one of the things that
And the
Jordan
Hobbit,
is striving
obviously.
to do is have a
Fool of a
character
took.
like that who is self-motivated as opposed to egalitarian. No.
Yeah,
And
okay.
she also leaves Swan in the lurch. She leaves the Amerlin
know.
seat in the lurch also because she doesn't know where she's gone. So she just she answers to no one. She apparently is just
She
a
answers
free
to herself.
agent out there who knows better than everyone else.
And yet she's right
mean,
every time
No,
so far.
I mean, so far,
She's been right so
a
far,
book
yeah.
and a book and 90 pages in.
That's a good amount. That's
we
600
have
some pages.
a lot
Far
more
from what
pages
we
to
know.
go in this
I
book.
think it's beyond that.
So that is
Yeah.
my Coplin
Okay.
of the week. Screw
All right.
you and your enigmatic ways, Moraine, said I.
And come over to my side of the fence.
Yeah.
'cause I'll
Also
take you
join David
all
and me
day long.
because we will have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who leveled up this week? All right.
Dave?
Well, if nobody else is going, Lan definitely leveled up.
Yeah,
We
big boy,
learned
Lan.
a
Big
little
boy.
bit about his past.
I got
I'm
mine.
also going back to the last week and what he did for Rand in his visitation with the Amerlin. And then he teaches Rand a new trick this week, which is sheathing the sword, which is when all else fails,
Yeah, whatever.
let yourself get stabbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, by a sword.
A sword.
And he's like,
Stabbed
by the
by the
way,
sword.
you're going to know when this happens.
You
I
might
think it's gonna
feel
happen.
a stinging pain.
Yeah. I mean, it
Thanks.
is. Yeah.
Thanks, Lan.
It's a
I thought we had some
kamikaze
good
move.
moments.
Mine
But,
is
yeah.
mine is Varen. Varen leveled up. She's a
Sure.
shrewd one.
Well, Varen, definitely. Yeah. She knows some stuff.
She's a
She's
force
red.
to be reckoned with in her little silent sparrow-like ways. Yeah.
Mine for the second week in a row is Podun Fane.
Yeah.
His-
Fun thing.
He somehow just
Nails
Put a
a
Murdrell
Murdrell to a wall.
up.
Can't be
Congratulations.
an easy task. Yeah.
I'm scared of you.
I will see you in my dreams.
Also,
and I
he
don't
has.
want
Also,
to.
he just has. He just has a clutch of dark friends with him.
Right.
He's like, oh, maybe the Trollocs are going to get hungry. I might feed
Right.
you to them.
Right. They're
Yeah.
just
Ugh.
food.
Well, he's no longer in the cook pot now, is he?
Can we just give a little toast to him, the writer, because he mentions an inn that is named Easing the Badger,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
though even the owner did not know where the name
Doesn't know why it's called that.
what the name of it meant. No one knows why it's called that. It's so funny. to me.
It's like it's been around so long it's past
Easing the
history.
Badger. It's like, I don't know what it means. Can you imagine owning that place and having to answer that question?
I'm wondering if that's like his
Just
his
really
homage
funny
to
to
something that
me.
happened in his life where that was that sort of
Probably.
situation. Like his friend
love
owns a
it.
bar called Squeezing the Sparrow, but no one knows why.
Hats off.
So that is
Robert.
it for this
Awesome.
episode where we covered chapters 7 through 12. Next episode, we will cover chapters 13 through 18. So
Hooray.
join us then as we continue to journey through Robert Jordan's weird world.
I think it might not
Attack.
have been as entertaining because I didn't say 100% one time.
Bye.